So I think we'll go ahead and get started. So thanks everybody for being here. Great to see everybody. We know you have a busy conference schedule and taking time out of your day to come and listen to us talk about what HPE and Microsoft are doing in hybrid cloud is something that we appreciate. So we hope you get a lot out of the session. My name is Jay Charrington. I am responsible for our partnership with Microsoft around hybrid cloud, as well as in the data platform in the IoT area. All up, we have some other HPE Microsoft folks around the room to be able to contribute to today's session, and as well to be able to be available after at the end during Q&A if there's not enough time. So I'm going to kick us off, I'm hoping, with a little video here, and then we'll introduce our speakers.
IT can grow out of control, disrupting business, weighing things down, and taking on a life of its own. It's multi-cloud complexity creating friction and slowing innovation. With software-defined solutions from Hewlett-Packard Enterprise, you can tame the IT monster. HPE. Clouds, apps, and insights faster.
So we hope you have gotten to visit our monster at our booth. We have our monster in our booth, certainly visually and throughout different social media properties and things like that while we're here at the event. So as I said, HPE and Microsoft have been partners for over 30 years. Pretty long-standing partnership, dropping a number of different solutions into the marketplace. One of the things that we've been focusing on for the past 2 or 3 is specifically around hybrid IT, as we saw the opportunity for hybrid IT back in 2015. And that really kind of governs a lot of the work that you'll see and hear talked about today, both from a services perspective as well as from a product perspective. Over the course of that time, we've also done a lot of work around data platform, which we're not going to talk about in depth today, but that really has manifested itself in big data solutions, extending into analytics solutions, and then now most recently into AI. And then finally, the intelligent edge is something that is a focus for both HPE and Microsoft, as you've probably seen with a number of market-leading announcements over the course of the last couple months. $4 and $5 billion respectively invested in IoT and the edge, going forward for each one of our companies respectively. So that kind of manifests itself in a number of different solutions in the IoT and industrial IoT space, as well as in the enterprise edge space. So today we're going to talk a little bit about hybrid cloud, and again, the end-to-end kind of approach. If there are questions, we are going to have a formal Q&A at the end of the session. There are 3 mics, I think, set up for everybody to be able to come up and ask your questions. If, for example, if you have something burning that just can't wait, please throw up your hand, stand up, come up to the front, and we'll address it during the course of the session. So we're going to kick it off with Satish Iyer, who's a VP in our PointNext Services organization, to talk about how we're working with customers as they evaluate their hybrid cloud strategies going forward.
Thank you, Jay. Good afternoon, everybody. Thanks for joining us. So the topic of today's discussion is cloud stress and how to tame the IT monster, right? So you all saw the video. So fundamentally, one of the main aspects of today is digital transformation. So everybody's talking about transformation. Everybody talks about how that impacts day-to-day businesses. How is it actually impacting the way we build and deploy and develop applications within our ecosystem. So, it's just not about speed, it's also about efficiency, it's also about doing it at the lower cost. So when we talk to our customers and when we talk to our partners who are actually deploying and managing complex set of applications, we see a stress. We see that they are worried about things, so we see that when they talk about cloud, when they actually want to go to cloud, they know that cloud and hybrid cloud is an answer. But we see they are stressed about it. So when we talk to them, the cloud stress, there are, we call them the signs of cloud stress. So there are 4 kind of cloud stress we see. One is fundamentally about the complexities of the offering. So they see that there is a last complexity in terms of tool sets, in terms of how many silos they need to deal with, in terms of how they actually manage and operate workloads across these private and public environments. And the second issue is visibility. So for a lot of them, they actually see that they have better visibility of things they do in public, but they don't get the same level of visibility when they actually operate within their own data center, within their own environment. So visibility causes a second level of stress. And then, one of the other aspects of transformation is also what we call a shadow IT. So, there is a mismatch between what IT as a supply chain wants and what technically the developers want. So developers actually go and find the best way to do the things they want. So technically they don't follow the stringent processes of supply chain. So that creates a lot of friction within the businesses, and it creates, it obviously then that actually, for businesses demanding more speed, that slows them down. So we went on a study. So we actually commissioned a company called ESG to actually talk to customers who actually have dealt with this cloud stress, who actually are, looked at these aspects of what makes them stressful in the cloud and said, okay, what did you guys do, right? What is the strategy did you employ in order for you to be, successful? So when we talked to them, they basically came up with 3 common threads. And so today, the dialogue we are going to have today is going to be across these 3 threads. So I will cover the first one, and McLeod's going to cover 2 and 3. So the 3 topics we always hear is, first, they defined and executed on a hybrid cloud strategy. So it's just not about going to public cloud or keeping things private the way they wanted. They actually executed a proper strategy in terms of how they wanted to take, what is the transformation looks like, and how they want to actually go to public versus private. The second one is one of the main aspects they did was they actually executed on a software defined on their premises. So in terms of deploying models in terms of HCI, hypercomposable infrastructures, composable racks. So they actually knew that infrastructure as a code is absolutely important for them. So they can, and that is a key aspect for them to be able to manage this whole hybrid environment. So for them to move into a software-defined infrastructure is key. The third aspect is visibility. So one of the key areas is, you can't manage what you can't see. So visibility is, really paramount to be able to see things and articulate what they want to be able to do across multiple environments. So one of the main aspects of visibility is, for them to be able to have common tools and common environments and tool chains which will allow them to see across both private and public. Sorry. So when we look at this, what are these drivers? So when they talked about these points of, they are executed this 3-point strategy, if you fundamentally see, there are 4 opposing drivers at work. The first and foremost is what we call as simplifying things. So one is you need to be able to rationalize your applications. They want to be able to share services. They wanted to have a clear way to source strategy. They wanted to understand which applications stay inside, which applications are cloud native, which applications go into the cloud. And on the other hand, if you actually talk about simplification, then you also need to talk about control. So they wanted to understand the bigger aspect is which gets automated, what are the governance processes. Today's environment, a lot of these companies deal with a lot of regulations. As you know, there is data privacy, there is security aspects, there is data governance in terms of sharing, and you also have industry-specific, vertical-specific requirements like HIPAA and others. So you have to balance the notion of being simple and understanding which goes to cloud, and you have to balance it with the regulatory environment in terms of which ones do you need to control versus which ones you actually don't need. You need that flexibility. And the other aspect is agility. So we talked about, I touched on this a little bit earlier. So speed is absolute priority today. I mean, applications are being incubated, they are being turned down, they're being recreated at a much, much faster rate. So the services are, as they were creating, they had to actually come up with a much lower cost. So the cost and agility kind of goes hand in hand, because you need to be able to be really fast, but at the same time, you also need to be able to understand how does it actually allow and how does it dictate your sourcing policy in terms of cost structures. So these are the 4 main aspects or drivers, I would say, our customers and partners typically look at. So 2 of the key ones here, right, are what I call as control and agility to innovate. So this is basically flexibility and control. So if you think about why customers today embrace public cloud, it's all about the flexibility, right? So you will be able to do things at a much faster rate. You'll be able to look at things. You'll be able to automate things. So you will have absolute flexibility in terms of what you can do. But at the same time, control is also a major aspect in IT. So when you look at traditional ITs within the data center, one of the things they did have always is this controlled walled garden environment. I'm not saying that's all good, but at the same time, there are certain aspects where you need control. You need the proper governance. You need to understand what the ins and outs are. So when you go to public, you tend to lose some of those control. So a classic IT dilemma is how much control, how much I can sacrifice, for how much flexibility do I need to get. And I think our answer from HPE is that you need that right mix. So you need to understand what does this flexibility and control look like. You can't have one and not have the other. So the answer for this obviously is cloud, but cloud's not an answer for everything. So in one of the studies we did, we noticed that somewhere around 1/3 of the organizations, they plan to host a majority of their workloads in public cloud, in private cloud by 2020. So a lot of the customers are talking about, creating environments within their own data center, which looks like a public cloud, so which has the flexibility and the automation and all the elements like a private cloud. And obviously, there is also equally number of organizations which want to be able to go to public cloud. So, and one of the main aspects which we noticed across the board, across all of the customers and partners we talked to, is most of them would want an outside expert. Most of them would want some expertise to be able to manage this transition. And they understand that these transitions are not simple, they are pretty complex, and a lot of them basically end up having a cloud strategy by accident, right? So they realize that they need to create something. It's easy to start putting something in the public cloud. Later, they realize that it actually touches data which is in their data center, and these data cannot be exposed, and then they are coming up with other band-aid solutions. So one of the consistent asks we got from our customers is, we want to get into this journey, and we want to engage, but we want some help in terms of design, implement, and managing our hybrid environment. So this is not just managing environment within our premises, but we also want to be able to help manage public cloud environment. So moving through this, again, coming back specifically, this is not, moving into hybrid is not without its own challenges, right? So like I said, the four drivers we talked about. So if you are talking about agility, our customers typically tend to say, we need the agility in the model, which we will, cloud ops is not the same as any IT ops. So they want to be able to have an agility within cloud ops, which they would typically have in their environment today, and cloud operations is not simple. So they realize that they don't have this, they cannot use the similar expertise they have built over many years within their IT to be able to manage cloud. And then we talked about visibility. The second big aspect of moving into hybrid cloud is visibility. So, a lot of the customers get a different level of visibility and management when they actually go to public cloud. But they generally don't get that within their own. I mean, over time, they have built a way to look at their own environments, but what really happens is you don't have a single pane of glass. You don't have one unique way of looking at your workloads across public and private, and that becomes really important when you go to hybrid. And we talked about cost and compliance and security, and I think which is a big issue is a lot of the customers would want to understand when they actually do go to a hybrid model, they are worried about maintaining their compliance stature. Like I said, the application itself, I mean, we are in the world of containerization, we are in the world of microservices. When you talk about microservices, a lot of these applications run within their own data image to make it much faster, and a lot of these applications are becoming closer and closer to the edge because you want the performance, you want it to reduce the latency, you want all of that. But what happens is the applications create their own image of data and they use their own image of data. Then the data has to be compliant with certain regulations which those applications are catering to. So I think fundamentally this causes more complexity. And obviously, lastly, you need to make sure that you have the right tools and the right skill sets to be able to manage. And going back to my point earlier, this is one of the key asks for a lot of our customers and partners is help us manage our cloud in terms of what are the skill sets and how do we manage this across both private and public. Right? So we in HPE actually, with our partners and customers, have a very simple formula for cloud enablement. So this is what we call as our framework to say, how do you deal with these four, the four stress points we talked about in terms of getting the right level of simplification, getting the right level of control, right, and having an ability to innovate and be more agile and go to market quickly and do it all at a very, very fair economics, right? So economics is very important. If you can achieve all of this and all you need to do is keep writing checks, I don't think anybody want to do that. So I think it's important to understand that every company wants to do that at a proper cost point. So first and foremost is what we call as modernizing IT. So the first step in going hybrid is to modernize the on-prem workloads. And this is fundamentally meaning reduce the workload, reduce the technology sprawl. I embrace software-defined networking. Embrace automation. This is fundamentally taking what you have today inside your IT environment and basically modernizing them and using newer toolkits. And and that would be the very first step in the movement. The second one is what we call as optimizing public and private clouds. So this is fundamentally, and we have some approaches within HPE which we call where we call MVC is minimum viable cloud. It's fundamentally a way for us to be able to tell our customers and partners, here is how you optimize between private and public estate. So this is how your environment looks like today. Here are the applications you want to be cloud native. So here is the way you go public. Here are the things which you want to keep it inside. So the second one is to basically do a comprehensive assessment in terms of use an approach to say which ones are prime for cloud adoption. So, and naturally you do those, then the next question is, what kind of applications do I design and run? So then the next step is when you wanted to build cloud native applications, then you want to accelerate on innovation. Then you have to design and build applications which can both support private and public environments. So it's important because especially we are here with Microsoft, and Microsoft is making it super easy for all the customers and partners to be able to fundamentally build and design and build once and being able to take it across both private and public. So if you are an Azure customer and you are an Azure Stack customer, then you have an opportunity to design once for the cloud, use similar toolkits, you use similar structures, and then based on your business needs, you can either run it locally within your own on-prem data center premises within Azure Stack, or you'll be able to migrate it over to public Azure as the business needs may arise. So it's absolutely important to design and think about this ahead of time. And last but not least, so it's important for us to think about the applications also need to run and consume from the hybrid cloud. So a lot of our customers have gone the hybrid route, but they are very hesitant into offloading their existing operations and existing maintenance into their cloud. So there is a huge inertia so they basically are they take a step, but they are not fully jumping in. So I think it's important for us to understand that inertia is also something which slows down their path of embracing hybrid. So these are kind of the four main areas or main steps or main formulas we see within HPE to be able to go into the hybrid journey. So, and by the way, this is the only closest to architecture picture I'll ever show, but I kind of wanted to tee this up a little bit because when we look at how the traditional architectural stack stacks up. So there are 3 things here I wanted to highlight. So the first one is, we break it down into what we call as supply chain, right? So the bottom quadrangle, the rectangle you see is fundamentally how you source. So fundamentally this defines a sourcing strategy in terms of, which one's in public, which one is private, what is the platform, what is the infrastructure we choose, what are the workloads we need to manage. So that's a sourcing strategy. The second one is when we go from supplying to the sourcing strategy, then we think about, okay, what are the specific security requirements? What are the governance requirements? What is our organization? So in terms of, for example, let's say we are running a HR system. Let's say we are using Workday. You're using SAP. So what are those, and how do they actually sit and manage underneath your traditional supply chain? And then obviously all of these are dictated by what we call as strong business and IT alignment. So fundamentally, you would start from saying, okay, what are our business and IT alignments? So a lot of times today, when, for example, we all got here probably coming from a flight. So the way we actually do things today is fundamentally different than what we have done 4 or 5 years ago, right? So all of us got into a plane. We probably used our mobile phone to check in. We had a mobile boarding pass. So we got validated in the gate. We got in. We usually used an Uber or a Lyft to go in, and again, we used our mobile phone. We came into the hotel. We checked in. Sometimes automatically check in. We used the phone as a room key. So the more and more we simplify our life, I think the back end of IT becomes more and more complex, right? And you guys know, most of them, they don't know this, but however simple our life becomes in terms of using and managing, the underlying technology structures are becoming more and more complex, because a lot of these things have to talk to each other. They have to work with each other in order for us to have that seamless experience. And those backend systems don't all reside in one place. And everybody in this room knows that, and you experienced this complexity at some point. So the idea here is to see how we can simplify that, how we can make sure that that experience can be enhanced as we go further, right? So what I would do in the next couple of slides is I wanted to go and talk a little bit about that bottom layer, which we call the supply chain, because this is going to be the focus for some of the dialogues we are having today. So one of the ways we in HPE are managing this is we have something called a multi-cloud architecture. So we traditionally, a lot of IT customers want to consume IT as, like they would consume a public infrastructure. So a lot of our customers are asking for, infrastructure within their data center, but they wanted to consume it as they would consume a public environment. So they want to pay per use. So the first thing is we have something called HP GreenLake. So HP GreenLake is our way of consumption, what we call as IT as a consumption model. So fundamentally what we are doing is, this is a way you could consume capacity. So you can consume compute, you can consume storage, you can consume networking. So you can consume all of that on a pay-per-use model within your own data center. So this is fundamentally an infrastructure as a service within your own premises. So, and I will give some more details as we talk about this a little bit. The second aspect is what we have built on top of it is, basic workloads. So the workloads can be things like, backup. It can be SAP HANA. It can be an analytics platform. So these are engineered solutions. They are managed and operated by you. So you're not only getting basic bare metal capacity, but now, so think about the bottom as, where you are actually going and buying capacity, buying storage, buying compute element, and then the next level is we have workload. So now the metering part would be very different. Now you are going to talk about how much backup support do I need? What kind of performance do I need when I actually shift data across? So the second aspect, again, is this workload part. So on top of it, what we are building is called the GreenLake Hybrid Cloud. So this is fundamentally a way for us to manage and operate cloud across both a private and public estate. So, and this is, allows us to do what we call as cost control, compliance control. So in terms of, you understanding where your costs are going, where your, what does your cost structure look like across both private and public cloud, as well as also compliance. So we have, for example, the example we talked about in terms of data. So let's say you are a centralized hospital and you have regional hospital centers, and suddenly you have like what you had in Florence, last month, where you have some disaster where all these things get cut off. But hospital still has to, even if it's a regional center, they have to satisfy HIPAA compliancy. They have to satisfy regulations, and they have to satisfy data requirements. So one of the key aspects of these compliance controls is to make sure that these applications, when you keep data locally, that you are satisfying all the compliance you needed for sharing the data. So if you're a local hospital which has been completely cut off from your main servers or mainline data systems, you can still provide the care for the people who came in need. Like, you would still know the medical history, you can still do that, then you can still be compliant. So again, the idea here is that when you are talking about, how the local systems, how you can manage both, tie a private environment to a public environment, this compliancy things becomes key. So why are we going behind this? So I think one of the key aspects we noticed as we talk about consumption-based IT experience is when we talk to our customers, a lot of the customers and say, okay, I want to consume infrastructure pay per use. I want to be able to, I want you to charge me for what I use. So they don't want to buy infrastructure up front. They don't want to pay for it up front. So they want it to be an OpEx like everything else. The second one is they want it to be, obviously faster, operate at a much higher speed. So the important thing is, when we're talking about GreenLake, when you talk about consumption-based IT, so when we actually go to the customer sites, everything is done for them. So it's literally, the infrastructure comes with all the tooling, all the support, everything. So there is no separate line items. So for them, it simplifies their operation. So it removes, obviously, they can pay by they can pay by the elements of compute. So they can pay by drink, whatever they consume. And the last thing we talked about is the whole thing between control and flexibility, right? So, and this is key for us because for us, this gives our customers and partners an ability to use the proper control, because almost all of the GreenLake infrastructure sits on-prem within our customer's data center. And let's say if you're running GreenLake and you're running Azure Stack, that can talk to public Azure, and you can share workloads with Azure and Azure Stack. But in this case, the GreenLake infrastructure sits in your own data center. So you have the control like you would normally have for infrastructure sitting on your prem. So this is absolutely key for a lot of our customers. So it's fundamentally a public cloud. You get the public cloud flexibility, with the benefits of having on-prem IT. So, it is not everything to the public cloud. It is, it is not standalone private, because, like I said, the way we in HPE we do it is it's purely consumption based. So it's not like a product financing. We don't basically finance your app. So technically, the actual infrastructure sits in our books. So what you actually pay for, or what the customers pay for, is what they use. So it is 100% pay per use. And this is not also a hosting service. So fundamentally, what we are doing is you get all the control. The actual infrastructure sits on your prem, and you are able to manage it the way you want to manage it. You just pay for it based on your usage. So, and these are some of the data we saw from our customers in terms of, when they use GreenLake, some of the benefits they gain. And, obviously there is CapEx saving, because, most, if not a lot of the, I would say GreenLake subscription is an OpEx cost. And obviously, there is a tremendous amount of agility in terms of being able to deploy some of these things much faster. And one of the main thing is productivity, right? So we talked about this before. So when we actually, when we deploy an IT infrastructure in consumption, and our infrastructure with workload as a consumption, usually our customers, this is already bootstrapped to the point where customers can start doing what they want to do. So it definitely speeds up in terms of what they're able to do at a much faster rate. So one of the other double click on the GreenLake, we talked about, we talked about the 3 pillars in GreenLake. So we talked about the infrastructure, we talked about the workload, and I mentioned GreenLake Hybrid Cloud. So what is GreenLake Hybrid Cloud, right? So if you look to the right, which says private, right? So this is so this is a lot of our HP customers, where customers buy infrastructure or customers buy GreenLake, and then they actually, run it on, then they actually run an infrastructure as a service layer, and then they run workloads. So today, HP with Point Next, which is HP Services Arm, we actually manage, we plan, deploy, manage, monitor everything in private cloud. So we actually have somewhere in, huge amount of customers who are literally asking HP not only to just deploy, but also fully manage end-to-end their private cloud. So one of the asks we have from our customers is also public. So since we talked about hybrid here, so as the customers move into hybrid cloud, so what they're asking us to do is also saying, okay, today HPE supports plan, deploy, and advise our customers as they go into public cloud. But what we are announcing here is we are also extending that capability to manage and operate public cloud. So, initially we are starting with Azure and Azure Stack. So if we have customers who are in Azure Stack today, we'll advise them in Azure Stack. We can plan, deploy, monitor, operate, and we can also do this in public Azure. So fundamentally, we can design their clouds, we will operate their clouds for them, and then we will optimize the clouds for them. So, and this is very important because a lot of our customers who are actually coming to us with a need for a hybrid solution or a hybrid ask are always starting from the infrastructure, right? So they have HP's infrastructure, they have huge amount of investment on data centers. So most of those customers are asking, what do I need to do to go public? How can I go public? And since you are managing everything internally, can you manage it for us? So our first foray into this is, obviously with Microsoft. So we are investing now heavily into creating a GreenLake hybrid model, which fundamentally allows our customers to manage both, an Azure Stack and Azure environment. So again, so we kind of touched on 3 topics here. So I double-clicked mostly on the first one in terms of, what do we define as a hybrid cloud strategy, and what are the 4? We talked about the journey of our customer and what we talked about in terms of, specifically some of the challenges in hybrid. So I'm going to invite McLeod Glass to come and, go deeper into software-defined and also talk about visibility. McLeod.
All right. Let's get this set up here. Awesome. So, here we go. So when I talk to a lot of customers, they're still dealing with infrastructure within their environments, dealing with the fact that it's static. They deal with the manual processes that aren't automated. If you look at what they're dealing with, it's very much a siloed environment in terms of what they're dealing with today. And what they really want to be able to do is move to a software-defined infrastructure or a private cloud type of implementation. But a lot of times it's resources, budget that also constrain their ability to make that movement. What they really need is an approach that allows them to leverage an architecture that fits within their environment and allows them to basically get on the software-defined train, essentially, where they are within that journey in terms of moving towards software-defined, and really supports all of their workloads and all their environments. If you look at it, a few years ago, we set out to software-define everything across compute, across storage, across fabric. It was a very bold vision, but we delivered it within our infrastructure. If you look at it, we've looked at and said we really need to simplify the overall experience on premise and deliver more of a cloud-like experience for our customers. And wanted to make everything basically software defined from a programmable standpoint, make everything basically fit within a unified API, as well as make sure that we have an environment that can be done through scripting, templates, and policy-based approach to managing that infrastructure. And no matter where you're at in that journey, we have a solution that allows you to be able to move to software-defined infrastructure, whether that's moving from automation to hyper-converged or hyper-converged to infrastructure as a service, or even in composable infrastructure, as we'll talk about. And the foundation of that strategy for us is HPE OneView. That's the key piece of everything from a software-defined standpoint within the HPE portfolio. So many of you have Proliant or Apollo servers or Superdome or 3PAR within your environment. What if you could take that existing environment and turn it into a software-defined infrastructure and could rapidly provision that infrastructure with just a few clicks, be able to automate over 50 lifecycle tasks within that environment, also be able to actually simplify the management through a single pane of glass. But that's exactly what HPE OneView does within your infrastructure. And we continue to see improvements across including our robust partnership with Microsoft. One of the things that we just announced is the Microsoft Azure Log Analytics capability within our product that allows you to create a powerful search engine that allows you to create custom searches for long-term correlation and that analysis within your environment. So really excited about having that partnership with Microsoft and being able to bring in the Microsoft Azure Log Analytics tool and that integration, which basically allows you to do trend analysis on-premise as well as in the cloud. I also have some very exciting news that I want to share with you. Today, we recently reached 1 million licenses within OneView. So very excited to be able to convey that to you guys, and thank you very much for those of you who are using OneView today. Our customers have seen a 50% reduction in the amount of management time they spend within their infrastructure and are able to deploy their images and their infrastructure up to 63% faster because of the capabilities that OneView delivers. Also able to deliver a 65% reduction in the overall unplanned downtime within that environment by eliminating issues and human error mistakes within that environment by using the automation capabilities. And then also delivering 3x the amount of admin productivity. A good example, Porsche Informatic is a customer that has over 1,600 virtual server instances and 133 blade servers. And they were able, by using OneView within their environment, to reduce their deployment time by 90%, able to deliver 50% less admin time in their infrastructure, and also decrease their remediation time by up to 50%. Just by leveraging the capabilities within the HPE OneView. So changing gears a little bit, I want to talk a little bit about HPE SimpliVity. If you need a real simple private cloud for robo or factory floor mid-market implementation, we have an enterprise class software-defined storage product in HPE SimpliVity. It delivers a simple VM-based management with data mobility, gives you the capability to deliver simplified DR and backup capabilities. You can actually back up to a terabyte of data in less than a minute. In fact, in about 40 seconds, you can back up that data. You can also, we deliver a hyper guarantee across that product that nobody else in the industry delivers. So we stand behind the product and the capabilities, both from an efficiency and performance and just overall capabilities of that product. We've got over 2,900 customers and continuing to grow at over 2x the market growth rate. And those customers are enjoying the fact that they are able to implement this solution and do it with 69% less infrastructure than kind of a traditional architecture in this environment. One of those customers is Aston Martin Red Bull Racing. And by implementing the solution, they were able to deliver application performance that's over 4.5 times faster than what they were able to do previously. And this portfolio consists of, we have Hyper-V, we have the SimpliVity 380, we have a SimpliVity 2600, which is a multi-node appliance model, as well as our RapidDR product within that. And recently added to the portfolio our composable fabric technology, which simplifies the overall hyperconverged experience from the fabric all the way through the compute and storage aspects of that. So as you move further along on this journey, if you're looking to deliver a true enterprise private cloud, that's where composable infrastructure really comes into play. Synergy was our first composable infrastructure solution that we brought to market. And it really is enabled through OneView to deliver composable resources, storage, compute, and fabric that are tailored to the application within your environment. So you can really get precise in terms of the infrastructure that you're deploying with that application. And it's all driven through a template-based approach that allows you to drive those policies and do it in an automated way. And then also with ImageStreamer allows us to be able to actually deploy into a stateless environment across those nodes to really simplify the deployment of those workloads. And in our latest version of OneView 4.1, we've actually added the capability to use Microsoft Windows Server 2016 and Windows Hyper-V 2016 within that ImageStreamer environment. So we're excited to have that in the fold in terms of the capabilities within the Synergy product. The whole product is 100% programmable, any workload, and allows you to accelerate your DevOps environment in a very significant way. We've got over 1,600 plus customers on Synergy, and it's the fastest growing category from the standpoint of industry categories that there's been so far. Composable has been an absolutely skyrocket in terms of the growth of that category. So one of the biggest partnerships that we have with Microsoft is Microsoft Azure Stack. And really excited about the initial launch that we had with this and the growth that we've seen around this and the excitement we've seen from customers. We've had a lot of early traction around this. If you think about it, we're really kind of focusing the Microsoft Azure Stack solution around data sovereignty, compliance, security, edge and disconnected apps, the ability to run high-performance analytics within their customers' environments, and provide hybrid platform for developers. One of the things that we sought to do early on with the HPE version of the Microsoft Azure Stack was to also try and give as much flexibility in terms of the implementation of the solution. So it's a very simple and flexible solution from the standpoint that you can scale nodes, you can still scale compute, you can scale the memory, as well as the storage capabilities in the ProLiant Azure Stack solution, the Microsoft Azure Stack solution. That combined with the HPE Silicon Root of Trust creates a very secure product on top of the fact that it has all these other great capabilities. We also have made sure that we've got multiple ways for you to basically purchase and consume the Azure Stack resources. So we've got the HPE GreenLake flexible capacity solution with Microsoft Azure Stack that allows you to basically pay as you go in a very easy to consume model. So HPE OneView really is the foundational piece of driving all this software-defined intelligence within your environment. For the last 4 years, our customers have been using HPE OneView and enjoying the ability to deliver faster, simpler, day-to-day operations and to do more with less in their environment. And it allows you to manage the compute, storage, and networking all in a central place, delivering a unified API, the template-based provisioning and reliable, repeatable deployments through automation, allowing you to provide management at scale within the environment, and delivering advanced integrated services within the HPE OneView. So not only automating just the infrastructure tasks, but also the service events and the capabilities within that. So Changing gears just a little bit, we talked a little bit about strategy, we talked about software defined, now talking about really how do we view delivering the overall cloud experience within the portfolio. Most of the customers I talk to struggle with getting visibility of data, analytics, getting information about cost information between private and public cloud and traditional environments. And one of the things that we sought to do when we announced HPE OneSphere earlier this year was to create a capability to allow our customers to be able to get that visibility and to really automate and deliver on some of those, deliver on giving visibility around some of that information. And that's where HPE OneSphere comes in, really allowing us to deliver across multiple clouds, specifically with Microsoft Azure, allowing us to automate on top of SDI, the lifecycle management capabilities around that, and also enabling our customers to build and deliver clouds faster for all workloads. Basically using the workload deployment models and including VMs, containers, and bare metal to allow them to be able to fit that into not just a pure virtualized or container environment, but also bare metal environment as well. And it all provides the insights and the cost utilization that you need to be able to manage your environment in an effective way. So, as we've talked about it today, we've talked about how do we lay out the strategy, and we talked about HPE GreenLake Hybrid Cloud. We've talked about how do I move into a software-defined infrastructure with HPE Synergy, with HPE Microsoft Azure Stack, with HPE SimpliVity, and most of all, HPE OneView. And then really, how do I go then and start to move that into a hybrid cloud environment using HPE OneSphere? And with that, I'd like to hand it over to Jay to talk a little bit about how HPE and Microsoft are taming the IT monster.
Yeah. We had a good session. Thanks, McLeod, for that. So any questions? Any questions from folks? You can step up to the mic or we can go from there. Okay, fantastic. So I hope you've been able to get a bit of a flavor. We have, as I said, we'll hang out for a little bit after this, and we have a number of other HPE and Microsoft folks in the room who can answer some of the questions that you might have that you want to kind of address one-on-one. I hope you've been able to get a feeling for how HPE is thinking about hybrid cloud as part of digital transformation, and really that it's not only a technology issue, it's not only a kind of a culture and a process issue, it's not only an economics issue, but it's all three together. And that's really the approach that we take really across the portfolio, from infrastructure solutions all the way through to services. So with that, I want to be able to point you to, for more information in addition to any questions you may have at the end of this, our booth is at booth number 2125, I believe it is, a number of experts here on site. With over 500 years of kind of combined experience. That ages all of us pretty dramatically, but over 500 years of combined experience across HPE and working with Microsoft, so I encourage you to come by and visit us at the booth. As well, here for reference are some of the sessions that you can look forward to for the rest of today and into tomorrow that relate to the hybrid cloud topic in the different dimensions that we've talked about today. As well, on the far left-hand side, if you are an Azure Stack customer or looking at Azure Stack from an evaluation standpoint, we have the opportunity to do kind of on-site innovation briefings with both HPE and Microsoft. So just come up and talk with me about that if you'd like to look at something like that going forward. Okay, so I think that's it for today. Again, thank you for your time and your attention, and have a great rest of the conference.